Thanks so much for hopping back in here to compel your audience. I'm Chris Watson. And for those that haven't been here before, we help organizations craft compelling stories to make sure that their audiences are compelled to do business with them. It might increase your revenue, might increase your referrals, might increase retention, or it might improve your culture. So let's dive in. How do you quit being ignored by your target audience? There are really four things that you must do in order to not be ignored by your target audience. The first one is you've got to find the right stories to be telling. So, in the scenario, let's just say you have an audience. It might be your people, it might be your customers, it might be a strategic partner, or it might be your current customer, or sorry, it might be your prospects for new business. So, it could be any four of those. And currently this audience is ignoring the story that you have for them. That might be for a customer, it might be sign a new contract, it might be new innovations of the product, maybe increasing customer spend. For a new prospect, it might be do business with us instead of a competitor. For your people, it might be affecting your culture because productivity is low, or they're not buying into some KPIs or a new mission or a new core value or something. But all of those affect your business. So, in order to find the right story for that audience, we have to understand the audience. We have to understand who they are and what they stand for and what they're about. So, the key to this is that until I know my audience, I can't tell them the right story. To find the right story to tell them, I've got to listen to current customers, or I've got to listen to people in their industry, in their world, on the webinars, through their social, the marketing on their websites. But I've got to determine what is the future that they want. Because if I'm not telling them the right story to the future that they desire or they want, they're not going to tune in. There's a reason why they're ignoring me, because they are tuned into a story of a competitor or someone else. They're tuned into a story that's giving them the future that they want. Sometimes that story is just their own story that they're telling themselves. We don't need X. We don't need that service. We don't need that product. We don't need that partner because we're doing fine without it. So that's the first thing. Number one, find the right story. Number two is we've got to find the right location. So we've got to find, where is my customer, my partner, my people, or my prospect? Where are they? I find that this is really important when we talk about strategic messaging. Do they prefer social? Like, are they actually engaged on social through LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram? Are they there? Not everyone is. So are they there and are they engaged? And that is a place that I can share those stories. Do they prefer video? 87% of the entire consumption of information online is video, is streaming. 87% is streaming. So a lot of people are preferring video as a way to consume a strategic story, information that's going to engage them. Do they prefer a blog? Do they prefer going to a website? Do they prefer, something like this, LinkedIn Live? But you've got to find the right location to engage this audience that might be ignoring you, or you've got to find the right location that currently they're tuned into, that you can hear what are they tuned into. So finding the right location is massive. Like, I have met a lot of people that have the right story, but are telling it in the wrong place, which means they're engaging the wrong audience, someone that's not going to buy. I mean, how many times have we, as a consultant or a salesperson, told a really great story to an audience that then just wants free consultation? Well, it's because we're telling the right story in the wrong location. So we have to find the right location for these great strategic stories or messaging that we're telling. The third one is we got to craft the right story. Wow, like, okay, I know my audience, Chris. I know where they're at, but my story isn't hitting home. I would say that's about 75% of all the people that have ever reached out. My story just doesn't hit home. It's just not compelling. Well, the truth is that many times we've grown numb to the greatest stories that we have. What's up, Enrique? We've grown numb to it. So what that means is that we have these great stories in us, or maybe our customers are telling us great stories, or our people are telling us great stories, but we've heard them so much that we now are failing to continue to develop and craft those and tell those. One of the most powerful things that I ever heard about storytelling is that the most important piece of telling a great story is the storyteller. They've got to be passionate about the story they're telling. They got to be excited about the story they're telling. I mean, how many times have you and I maybe heard a really incredible story, but the person telling us just didn't seem like they were into it, didn't seem that excited about it, didn't really, they weren't buying their own story of what they were telling us. So, in order to craft the right story, I would tell you to think about the main four core details of a great story. Number one, identifiable character. In most cases, for us, that identifiable character is going to be our audience. Number two, yeah, compelling, not coercing. So true. Number two is we have to have a significant moment. If you think about the hero's journey or think about any great movie or any great book, there's always a significant moment that occurs. Well, in the case of this audience that might be ignoring you, they're either in this significant moment or they're going to encounter this significant moment. And I want to be the one telling them the story about this significant moment in which they can solve the problem that they're in, or in which they're going to have to overcome an obstacle. Because ultimately the goal is what? The future they want. And that's what we're all offering. We're offering a better future. That's the bottom line in every story that we tell. We're offering a better future than where you are now and the future that you're going to get without utilizing my product or a service or me or whatever it might be. The third thing is I have to have some raw emotions. I got to have emotions that people can hear about. I was very fearful. Many people are fearful. Some people are sad. They're scared. They're so excited about. There's a lot of stress around. We want emotions that people can feel, can remember. And then the last piece is specific details. I like to call them sticky details. I like to think about when I'm telling a great story that you want to talk about it in terms of giving them some details that they can resonate with. So, if you think about, I'll just tell you kind of a mini story. Is last night, I took my 5-year-old son and he was doing a private baseball session with a coach. Now, I would prefer that it was me being his coach, but every time I take my son out, he seems to get frustrated. He seems to get upset. He says words like, "Dad, this is boring. Can we go do something else?" And I used to take it personal. It used to hurt my feelings. Like, I remember all the great memories that I had with my dad. So I took him to the coach and I asked the coach, like, "Is this normal?" He's like, "Oh, it's way normal." You're telling him what to do every day of his life, when to brush his teeth, when to go to bed, when to clean his room. And now you're going to go try and train him in baseball and teach him how to swing a bat and throw the ball properly. It's not going to happen. As I sat in there last night, sitting on the small little green bench that wasn't really that comfortable, and I'm peering through the net, protecting my son and seeing him do all the things that I was wanting to coach him to do, it was a very proud moment. And I'll tell you why it was proud for me as a father. Because he was having success and I didn't have to be the one in control. And I think as a parent, as a business owner, that's ultimately what you want to see. You want to see that you had some fingerprints on the decision to put that person in the right place to be able to make the right decisions and have success. As I saw him hitting the balls and I saw him throwing it and I saw his confidence, it was such a relief for me because all I had to do was clap and say, "I support you." Now, when I tell that story for anyone tuning in and watching this in the future, a majority of people can say, "Oh, I saw you on that bench," or "I have felt that before," or "I know exactly what you mean," or "I could see your son Carmichael hitting the ball in that moment." The guy's throwing around the cage so he doesn't get hit, right? So like people could see it and visualize because there were some sticky details in there. That's how you craft a really, really great story. Is you have to make sure that you have identifiable character, a significant moment, raw emotions, and then very specific sticky details. The last piece is, and I think this is so vital of what's going on LinkedIn, is if you have an audience that's ignoring you, you got to develop champions within their walls. So within their walls might be on social, within their walls might be actually in the organization. Just had a conversation with the CEO about 2 weeks ago that said, I wasn't looking for this product, but 9 of the people on my sales team were telling me it was awesome. They were all on a free trial. That organization created champions within the walls. And so they ended up investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in a product they weren't really looking for, but they recognized the value because they created champions. So if you have an audience that's ignoring you or that is disconnected, you need to create champions. So the 4 things are, to run through them quickly, is you got to find the right stories. Meaning you have to know your audience, find the right stories that are going to impact and compel them, not coerce them, as Enrique said here in the chat. Number 2 is we got to find the right location. I know everybody's all about omni-channel approach, and I love it. And if you have the time and the effort and an apartment behind you, awesome. If you don't, and maybe you're a one-person consultant or you're running a company with a small group of people, find the right location for your customer, and then you can build from that location onto other locations. Make sure you're crafting the right story. Many times, like I said, people can be in the right location. They can know their audience, but they're not telling a compelling story. And you won't win in that way. You might not know your audience, but you might be in the right location with the right story, and you won't win in that way. So you have to have, I'm telling the right story in the right location to the right audience, and I will earn their attention. I will earn their business. They will no longer ignore me. And then the last piece is you got to develop champions. Why? Well, they may not be right now getting ready to make that buying decision. They may still be in a contract, or they may be not looking to make a change in this moment. But if I have champions internally and I have people that are telling my story for me because it's such a compelling story, I will win. I will win naturally because more and more people are going to be telling my story in a way that your audience is going to hear from a trusted source. Remember, we're not trusted at first. People don't know us. I'm just another strategic storytelling expert on LinkedIn. But if I can get champions that they trust and that they know, that understand their business, they have context with, a relationship with, and those people begin to tell my story, I win. Thanks so much for tuning in. Enrique, thanks so much for all the comments. Much love, man. I love everything you're doing on LinkedIn. For those that don't see, you got to go check out Enrique. Love everything he's doing and how hard he works. And if you have an audience that is ignoring you, I just gave you the 4 ways that you can re-engage that audience or help you understand that audience, they don't know who you are because the story that you're telling right now, and we're all telling a story, isn't compelling. Once again, I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, 12:30 Central, 1:30 Eastern time, talking about how to compel your audience. And if you're in a situation where you have an audience, you're like, man, I need some help compelling this disengaged audience, or my business is going to go under, or Chris, I need to increase referrals, or whatever it might be. Every business is dealing with 5 audiences at minimum at a single time. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys Thursday. All right, bye-bye.